Greetings, fellow DC superfans. Bluedragonfive here,
and Rohith Dhar.
and we're back talking Peacemaker, season 2 to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they're doing them week by week this time around. So we actually felt we provide a little water cooler discussion of what we just watched. So Rohit, it's a new ball game. It's the DCU. It's after we've gotten a Superman movie. How do we feel about our season 2 premiere?
I think it was a good episode. Just probably more dramatic than necessarily comedic in nature. There were some comedic, fun moments. I think really I wanted to see where the season goes. I think what's done with especially Chris and Hardcore is really interesting, and I think the way James Gunn has talked about the season, the use of the multiverse. Um, I'm very interested to see how that culminates dramatically, not only for the show and just what's the larger story at play. And I think it's kind of a more not melancholic season, but I think it's more focused on I think the first season does a lot of fun, crazy stuff, and I think this season while the craziness does come into play, I think it's more grounded by the emotions of our two main characters, Chris and Harcourt.
Yeah, I was dazzled by it. I thought it was a really solid premiere. I thought I think in comparison to season 1, well, mind you, there's a lot of that does benefit from we've already established everyone the dynamics and we've had a rather substantial arc for everyone. But this feels very much kind of in tune where we were with episode 8 of season 1. It feels like Peacemaker is not quite as wonderfully stupid as he once was. He's matured a little bit.
Yeah.
Much as he can mature, but at least for this specific, our main Chris Smith.
No, and I think it's kind of really well done. When at the audition scene for the Justice Gang, Chris being able to kind of go into a bit about his background and the trauma and him wanting to change and grow, like that's not something that Chris in season 1 would have said at the very beginning. But obviously through season 1 and where we are in season 2, there is an intentional maturation and growth, which I think is an interesting parallel with say where Harcourt is at, emotionally, in light of what happened in season 1. Harcourt's blacklisted from most, if not the entire intelligence community, and she's kind of in an aggressive state where it kind of seems like emotionally, not to say that Harcourt was fully 100% there, but in season 1, Harcourt was the more emotional, stable one, and Chris was kind of the more unstable, immature, and violent person. Now it's kind of the trajectories for the two characters is where Chris is rising up in maturation and self-actualization, and Harcourt's kind of going down in her depression or sad state, and they're both kind of meeting this interesting middle, which I think James and company talked about in their podcast for this episode.
All right, without further ado, let's just get into the conversation. We'll just kind of cover things as they go. All right, so previously the DCU, this is a genius idea. We show basically it shows James Gunn. He's he's no dummy. He's despite what a lot of people on the internet have accused him of being. He's he's been kind of teasing this up, and it's finally here, and he's finally just kind of laid it. Okay, look, this a lot of people wondering, what happens where and when between the James Gunn, DCEU stuff to this whole DCU that we've got going on now. I know it sounds like I'm missing a letter, but no, it's just this is what we're calling it now, kids. Basically, James Gunn setting the record straight on this is how the canon works here, where essentially is whatever we say happened, and we will reshoot what we need to.
Mm-hmm.
Without going overboard, we will reshoot what makes sense that we can do, and it'll make everything kind of gel, and we can pretty much keep all the cool stuff that we like. Which look, in general, maybe not one for one, but pretty much this is the kind of DC canon stuff that I've always wanted to see happen in real life, where we just take what we like and we make it work going forward. And I love that approach. It's always what I've wanted to see on the big screen and just kind of in general with, if we ever, for example, and we're going to have like a DC universe, we're going to have Jason Momoa, kind of folded over in a sense, or you're going to have casting similar people. We're taking him formerly playing Aquaman to now playing Lobo.
Yeah.
What?
No. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so him playing Lobo. So doing stuff like that is like we're taking the elements that worked and we're trusting the audience to be smart enough to I'm sure they'll get an appreciation of, oh man, he's double dipping within universe, but that won't get in the way. Hopefully, what we're going to do in that respect, it's like, okay, look, the Justice League gag as we had it was funny and it was a running gag, but obviously we can't have that verbatim, especially with certain things we're going to do with Momoa especially. So we got gonna change things around a little bit. And I just like that we put on Front Street right at the very opening, and we had a really effective kind of recap. And if anyone skipped the recap, they would be, oh man, we really missed out on something cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. I doubt. Honestly, it was very necessary here. I doubt we're gonna have any like major kind of like retroactive kind of moments going forward like that in all the other recaps. But I guess now we'll have to watch to know for sure.
No, I think because I think moving forward, it's going to probably just be whatever the DCU continuity is, because they before leading up to season 2, there was a podcast where James Gunn, Steve Agee, the actor who plays John Economos, and Jennifer Holland, James Gunn's wife, as well as the actress who plays Amelia Hooper, they did like a rewatch of all season 1. So I think there wasn't really anything that was major in sort of what was canon and not canon for all the 8 episodes. And I think part of that is because Peacemaker was really relatively a standalone show outside of the major Justice League appearance at the end of this first season. So
it was always protected because of that, essentially, with the exception of the Justice League joke. They're always going to be fine.
Yeah, like outside of a few major heroes, canonicities mentioned like is indeterminate. Like I think,
in all honesty, until the very tail end, every joke that he makes about Green Arrow and Aquaman and everything and all those characters essentially can still play. Just we haven't really met them yet. But again, with like how we're going to reintroduce everyone, we're probably keeping things arm's length. Hence the reshoot.
Yeah, no, I think the recap was necessary to watch for the first episode, and moving forward, I think the recaps will be just, recapping the first episode.
Well, the rest of them aren't going to say previously in the DC. They're probably going to say previously on Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we saw our Superman cast, as the Justice Gang, and basically the idea is Aquaman, all the Aquaman jokes were having Guy Gardner, a Peacemaker threw up on the green flying carpet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. So overall, Peacemaker's arc, again, very much. And I rewatched Peacemaker before getting into the new season, and it kind of occurred. A few things occurred to me. It was a really good rewatch, and I loved Peacemaker when it first came out, and I thought it was great. And but rewatching it, like in preparation for this, a lot of things sunk in for me with the character that didn't really occur. Where Peacemaker very much. There's very much a kind of a Joe Kelly Deadpool vibe. I guess technically the Deadpool movies as well, in terms of it, you're going from killer to aspiring hero in terms of the arc with our anti-hero, which Joe Kelly very much, that was his big claim to fame for Deadpool. Was Deadpool trying to make a change, and this character who you root for and you like watching, who's his foul mouth, and he's very much for the R-rated kind of. Very, very much a dark character, but with humor built into him. He's he does aspire to do some good. And kind of, it's not even just to have like a better outlook on life than he currently has. So the fact that with everything that we did in Peacemaker season 1, which again very much kind of common that whole Joe Kelly kind of vibe. He has a desire to be a hero, but the conflict is that he will always be alienated by his peers because of his past and his particular skill set. His very Neeson-like skill set. So that rejection, it drives him to take the easy way out, and you root for him because. So again, I found John Cena, again, he was always fun as Peacemaker, but as that show went on, by the first the season finale to season 1 of Peacemaker is still the chef's kiss. That ending again. James Gunn knows how to end the movie with music, and a story with music. And the way we did Peacemaker season 1 was still like one of the best. Just a fantastic the apology song. Just fantastic. I always love that final shot of Peacemaker. I think it's just a work of art. So I love we're really building from that, and because of that, like I've always every time I think of Peacemaker, I always think of that final shot, and I'm just rooting for him here. And I love this the interview process with the Justice Gang and the fact that he is I just I just really love that we've this character has made a very honest stab at trying to be a hero and trying to improve upon himself, and just the universe just keeps slapping him down, and it's kind of this thing that I think is kind of in real life with a lot of people. People trying to make comebacks, people trying to make changes, and it just feels like we won't budge in giving him second chances or giving him the opportunity for change, like a fair opportunity for change.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, before we fully get into like the big scene there, like, to me that's like the scene of the episode. Before we get there, some housekeeping with kind of the crux of this season. So I love how the mundane way in which Chris stumbles into the multiverse via the pre-established. Of course, when we all saw Superman, had you seen Peacemaker before seeing Superman? First thing I was thinking of with Lex's pocket dimension was the wormhole and everything. Was the quantum unfolding storage closet, which it was like, oh my god, we're connecting the Peacemaker dots there, and I was so glad that with the premise of season 2, we're exploring that, and that would again the logical dominoes are falling on each other. That we have a pocket dimension, but used far less irresponsible, at least so far, than Lex's version of it.
Yeah.
So I guess the mundane discovery. It's snowing out. He doesn't want to get the eagle cold, so he basically flies him, like the version of walkies for the flying bird, indoors.
Which I kind of like. Maybe I need to look into eagles, but I can't imagine the eagles get too cold in the winter, do they?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not. Ornithology is not really my strong suit, Rohith. I sense we're conducting research.
No, eagles do not get cold in the winter because they have multiple biological adaptations to stay warm, including layers of insulating feathers and high core body temperatures.
Well, that confirms for me.
What?
That confirms for me that much like Vigilante and Owls, Peacemaker doesn't know a lot about eagles.
Well, I mean, he's feeding eagle chips, so I feel like he's not necessarily the best eagle owner.
It's still like I love that running gag in season 1. The whole just make it sound like you're crinkling a bag of chips.
But yeah, no, I think it was interesting too that Chris had an experience in going into the other universe before sort of the inciting incident of the narrative, because I think just the fact that he just got spooked and the speed scene design and running away, it makes me. I feel like it's kind of an interesting way to go about it, because typically it's like, oh, you find out this new world for the first time, and for Chris, this is like him going into the universe like the second time. You can just kind of wonder, like in the back of his mind, like what would have made him, want to see this other world. And in this case, it's just him being depressed, inebriated, and just wanting to, escape his world and reality.
Yeah, the universe. Right now we don't really, obviously, names and labels and everything. Right now, we don't quite have that information unless the podcast has revealed anything I'm unaware of. But basically, the top trio universe. That's kind of what we call, that version of Peacemaker, and his father, and the third in their group. So it's the top trio universe. I keep wanting to call it the Charlton universe, but it's probably not going to be that.
I think for the sake of convenience, it'll just be like an Earth 2, not officially, but just basically it's a counter Earth or
counter Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, although that term was used in like Guardians 3, so it's like, let's just say it's like Peacemaker 2 universe.
Okay. Oh, it's also the opening dance. By the way, we have a new song. We got the full cast, and we even got Frank Grillo to dance, which apparently was a little tricky for him. He was very unsure about the dancing.
According to James Gunn, him and Michael Rooker were the worst dancers in the group.
Yeah. Well, Rooker that I believe that. Yep. All right. So, I love that as like the audition process too for Peacemaker. Okay, you're gonna have to do this highly choreographed dance sequence.
And a lot of the actors, like in both seasons, aren't like professional dancers or anything like that. So that's kind of the fun of getting this to work. What do you think of the new song and the new overall dance number for the season?
One thing I gotta admit, side by side, at least it's only one episode in.
Mm.
It hasn't really, it hasn't, like hasn't really struck me as much as the season one song, which I don't know, is that one's still to me. When I think of Peacemaker, I keep thinking of that song because again, we watched it, and especially going through the rewatch of the first season, it's gonna be an earworm.
Mm.
But it just feels like it's kind of like Peacemaker's anthem.
True.
But it feels like appropriate though. There's going to be like a new song per season and a new dance number for the new cast. So it attracted. And thought it was good, and it's definitely that builds the intrigue like from someone like you've seen certain characters, and I like the detail that we saw more than one Peacemaker there. We saw him in and out of costume, and maybe implying the whole multiverse of it all.
Mm. I think the song choice is interesting. Like I do agree that I prefer season one song because like it's just such a oomph to it. But I think in looking through some of the lyrics or hearing the lyrics of the song "Oh Lord" by Foxy Shazam, and sort of the way because this the song is addressed to the lead singer's son Julian, and the lyrics like Julian's like the world's gonna spit you out and everything like that. It's like it considering where Chris is at emotionally, it just feels sort of like in a way like what something he wanted to have from his dad, an ideal version of his dad to him about what the world would be to him. So, and I think the fact that like there's this one moment in the sequence where like Chris and Amelia are like very close to one another and are kind of like split apart with the new like multiverse people that come in. I think it's really interesting to see that, and like that kind of maybe in my mind hints at some thematic developments for the two over the course of the season.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about So as Jacob in the comments says, we all know Eagly's the best dancer. Well, that's true. Actually, he did bust a move this time. Where in the first time season, he didn't really do that.
Yeah, he took the place of the neighbor for the first season and doing the tap dancing, and which was done by James Gunn. When you see the behind the scenes of the dance sequence.
I hope the neighbor's okay.
That's a good question. I feel like the neighbor's all right. Although I feel maybe the neighbor moved because it's like with the
No,
whole.
I mean the actor who play. I hope the actor who plays the neighbor's okay.
I feel like the character probably moved because if anything, the character would have probably just like knocked on the door. I mean, not that the music was too loud, but it would have been funny to see the neighbor kind of knock on the door and see all of that, in front of him.
Well, he was probably in that scene somewhere.
Man, Dragon, I didn't make that comment. You did. What circumstances is this our Earth 2? Is this like what happened in the DCU? Is this our new multiverse? My God.
Well, no, honestly, it would track. He would probably let him in.
Man.
He doesn't have to like it, but I'm just saying he probably would have wandered in and he's too despondent. He wouldn't have cared.
He's just an old man that stands bad band, Dragon.
Pretty much.
Anyway, I think we're just kind of bouncing around. Do you want to just go at sort of the beginning of the episode where Chris kind of preparing himself mentally for the Justice Gang interview?
Yeah. So Chris and Adebayo, their friendship's still very nice. It seems like we wrote the wife out, at least for the time being. Which I mean, honestly, you look back in the first season, it's like, yeah, it's the problem when we have spouses and everything in these things. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with that relationship, nothing wrong with those scenes. It just very much felt like, okay, we got to give Adebayo stuff because we're gonna have a the crux of her character is gonna be the friendship and the whole betrayal thing with Peacemaker in the season one. But yeah, in the meantime, we gotta kind of show what her home life's like and everything, and obviously the big Waller connection. But with the whole wife thing, it's like keep her at a distance, don't keep her at a distance. We have the nice bit with her at the end during the apology song, but it's not really a lot of places to go with her. So it seems like we kind of went the Ted 2 direction where okay, we need conflict or we need change. So the wife there's some marital distress or a potential split that happened. Like, how do you read it? Do you think like they're together? Like, the podcast say what's going on?
I think there's split.
Okay,
what I read that because it's like I feel like there would have been mentioned about because divorce. If there were divorce, there would be money issues being mentioned, and that I think that probably would give even more pressure for Adebayo and getting her business off the ground. I do like the gag of Chris commenting on the business card.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Man, and it's interesting to see where Adebayo is at. Where at the beginning of season one, she was just very reluctant, very hesitant to go into the Black Ops sort of thing, and now she's kind of being this plucky, go-getter, wanting to start her own security business. And
she killed an alien cow with her head.
I mean, that was more Chris's doing than her. But
hey, she was used as the battery. Technically, she was the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
She was attached to it. She was a human cannonball.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, she seems to have trimmed down between seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which again we make fun of with the card, which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then now I do appreciate Adebayo like being there for Chris and driving him to the interview. And when we get to the side of the interview, I mean, you saw a little bit of the Easter egg, right, with the name of the store.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so Crank Toys.
Yes.
Which Crank Toys is a reference to Toy Maker, and of course we just had a Superman movie, so they're appropriate.
We did.
What do you mean?
No. I thought Crank and Toys is a reference to. What was because I thought it was a toy based villain from the Batman the animated series.
Oh well, okay. So, if memory serves, okay. Here's the thing. So the Batman they did kind of a stab at a toy man, but it wasn't actually toy man. It was I forget Patton Oswalt played that character or not, but essentially it was like some version of it wasn't I am blanking on the character's actual name, but it was something. I think they reused Crank or something there, but they couldn't use like the name Toyman. But I want to say in the comics, like it was like Crank Toys was actually what Toyman's like business, or at least what his father. They're made it's like three different versions of Toyman. So like whatever the version with the father was, which essentially was after Superman the animated series, they kind of brought that into the comics, the whole father son.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the Toy Makers that play on the Toyman. Yeah. And then in the Batman, and then Crank and Toys, which is something that was then brought on to like the Arkham games and stuff and whatnot. So seeing that,
so what's in the Arkham games? It's a reference. It's a little bit. Yeah, they had a few other heroes referenced in the Arkham games, like Queen Industries and stuff like that. So it's like a Superman reference in a Batman game. So it's still a Superman reference.
Yeah, but seeing that there was pretty cool, and we as Chris is walking in, we see our introduction to the first DCU Batman villain in White Rabbit. It's quite an interesting way for her to just kind of walk out, and
I remember I was geeking out. Oh my god, it's White Rabbit, one of the lamest Batman villains. There she is.
Everything that she was trying out for the Justice Gang, it's like, oh, she just was just a hero. I see people online where it's like, what if her being rejected by the Justice Gang like makes her turn into villainy?
I mean, maybe she would go with the Mad Hatter.
Yeah. So coming into the Justice Gang interview, Chris is sitting in a chair, and then there's a screen, and behind the screen is Kendra Saunders Hawkgirl, played by Isabella Merced. Maxwell Lord, played by Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, and Green Lantern Guy Gardner, played by the ever noteworthy Nathan Fillion.
Love some Nathan Fillion.
And the dynamic, like this is a scene where it's both funny and sad. Funny to see the Justice Gang being a bit of jerks to Peacemaker, and sad for Peacemaker to really pour his heart out here for the.
This was the cornerstone scene of the episode. I felt this was a hugely, and it was in the. I know it was in the trailer, but I love that you had it in the trailer, but you didn't really feel it the way you feel it here. Like here, it really sinks in, like how great a scene this is.
Yeah. Just the fact that like Peacemaker is like, oh, like Maxwell Lord's like, hey, what do you go by, Chris or Peacemaker? It's like, oh, I'm fine with either. And then he turns it off, thinking Peacemaker won't hear.
Indecisive.
Yeah, and he's like, what skills do you possess? Oh, I'm the greatest marksman of the world. You know, not just with the guns, but with any weapon. And it's like, oh, where did I mark it that down there? It's like sociopathic. And it's like, why am I writing this down? You have the best handwriting out of any of us. So it's just, oh man. And I love for.
Can I just say it's still a missed opportunity that we didn't call these guys the Justice Lords, just given that it's Maxwell Lord's funded Justice League.
Yeah, but the Justice Lords like invokes a specific.
It also would have given us the JL on the logo. I'm just saying, this bothers me that the logo really looks like JL, which feels like, why are we called? I know the G looks a little. It's a weird looking G that's practically an L. Why couldn't we just make it an L?
We have to build up to it. We had to build up the JL, meaning the Justice League.
Man. We can still have Lords, Justice Lords, two Justice League.
But then it's JL, and the people's like, why not just go further and say Justice League? Justice Gang is just kind of a good precursor prototype for.
Oh, it's not Justice League because he's branding himself. That's why it's not a league.
The branding is in the suit, is in the attire. It doesn't. He doesn't like Maxwell Lord isn't that vainglorious. Although he did put himself in that mural in Superman. So
yes.
Maybe he has limits.
Anyway, okay, so it's the whole logo thing still puzzles me. But
also, I feel like Justice Lords is kind of like supervillainy.
I know it's supervillain, but the whole Maxwell Lord's a supervillain.
He is not a supervillain. He when he was introduced in GLI, he was a morally ambiguous figure that did good things and bad things, but still was kind of someone that was operating the gray, but overall wanted to be part of the JLI and all that.
All right, look, we know in the long run they're not going to remain the Justice Gang. Okay, we know that for a fact.
No, I know that, but like that doesn't.
I think it would stand the reason that perhaps they're going to bump up against Maxwell Lord's agenda at some point.
I mean, James Gunn specifically when he's asked like, oh, do you envision Maxwell Lord becoming a villain? It's like he specifically said he didn't like that characterization and was wanting to stick with the JLI interpretation.
All right, that's all right. Fine. Okay, look, I'm just.
And we already got the Maxwell Lord as a villain in Wonder Woman 1984. So
yeah, no, I get that we've done that. I'm just saying, knowing that at some point we're going to rebrand either as JLI or the Justice League. At some point, I was saying it would stand to reason with the ego on this guy. At some point, we're going to part ways, and maybe it could just look. You're right. It sounds like we're going to go in the more casual direction with the parting of ways. Like, he has maybe a little bit more of a branding agenda. Justice League wants to be, like not so much a profit thing.
Maybe he still wants to be involved with the Justice League, and that causes an interesting dynamic with all the superheroes and him being a part of it.
It's possible. I'm just saying, it's the thing. It's still such a weird thing with the DCU where you have such essentially we have such a kind of a hand on the pulse with James Gunn, like pretty much answering all of our questions, but sometimes cryptically.
Well, you gotta preserve some level of mystery, or else why would happy?
No, it's not a criticism. It just that's what I'm just saying. It's such a weird thing that we do have technically all the answers that we could want the things, but at the same time, it does it kind of limits things, but it doesn't. So I don't know. It's kind of it's something to get used to, It's cool. I'm just saying, it's cool to have it's like we never get straight in. Well, it's not that we can't get straight into. Feige's always playing it very close to the vest, and with James Gunn, it's like, I'll confirm nor deny things all the time.
Not all the time. It's just it's wherever he. It's depending upon when the need is presented. But
Right.
I think for where this Justice Gang is at, I'm very much 100% going to believe that they're going to be a prominent part of the follow up to Superman that James Gunn is wanting to like fast track into production or make or get into development. So however the movie turns out, I think we'll get closer to a traditional Justice League.
All I'm gonna say, based on this scene, is this Lord or not being the reason. It feels very clear to me that okay, this is kind of why Superman isn't a member of the Justice Gang.
Yeah, no, it sounds about right.
Okay, so overall, so again with this scene, again comical, but again perfectly heartbreaking character motivation on Peacemaker here, where I just love that Guy lazily did the AV on this whole interview setup, which again really if they
He didn't though. He potted off to one of the
well, that's
bodyguards.
what I mean. Lazily, he just pawned it off. He was supposed to do it, but he didn't. So he pawned it off to lazily get it done.
I appreciated Guy
Plus, this
Gardner.
whole audio setup too. It's just pure. It's purely the trash talk the applicants. It's not even really an interview. They would all just be united front. There'd be no glass partition. They would just be there, and they would just do the interview and invite him to leave. But no, it's and wait till he's gone. The trash talk, but no, they can't. They can't wait to do that. Plus, they just want to, I guess, confer a little bit while they're there, or at least I don't know. I guess perhaps to figure out certain questions they want to ask. But still, it just feels like they could have gone over those things beforehand and saved themselves a lot of legwork.
I do love at the end. It's like, oh God, how many times did that rabbit lady hear me talk about her camel toe? It's like
Which
37 pounds.
was so funny. Which again, retroactively go back to that's why this poor girl was going out there crying.
Oh,
So it was a
man.
well constructed joke, like God, Max Lord,
Mhm.
no wonder Wonder Woman doesn't like you.
Well, it depends on what this woman is in this universe.
Well, I mean, either way, I'm just saying in general. I don't think she's going to snap his neck over it, but
But anyway, I really you really do feel for Chris when he just kind of storms out of the
like he's
prank.
talking about the death of his brother, and they're completely tuned out.
Mhm. And I think what's really interesting for Chris is that, considering how much he was just so, emotionally devastated by just even thinking about his brother's death, the fact he's able to speak about it openly and able to kind of talk about how he's tried or best reconcile with it and move forward was really moving. And I remember James going to talk about how like John Cena was, really surprised as an actor in Suicide Squad in season one, Peacemaker. But in the time between season one and season two, he's like gone leaps and bounds beyond as an actor, and what he's done in the season is just exemplary.
I,
And
from what I understand, Cena in real life when he was like talk shows and stuff, and he's been really open about this. He's had a lot of insecurity in life, especially dealing with fame and stuff. So he's he tries to be. He seems to be a very nice, very humble guy who's really just really grateful and really nice to people. And with that in mind, it's like he's a guy who has had like anxieties and stuff that he's worked through. So it feels like he's brought a lot of that to the forefront. I think the scene kind of like he's kind of in the way we have like a Ryan Reynolds kind of embodying Deadpool's qualities to a degree. It feels like perhaps obviously he's put it. It's hard to say definitive Peacemaker because obviously there's only one Peacemaker right now, and Peacemaker was a relatively an obscure character until James Gunn really didn't work his magic. So I can't say it's like the definitive take on Peacemaker per se, because it's the only take on Peacemaker, but it does very much feel like he's making the character his own and really putting himself with the character kind of like there's like it's a thin line between where scene ends and the character begins kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So it's really good. I think it really makes the character come to life all the more here. And I just love that we put him in this relatable. I think what the reason this scene works is that it's relatable to any like job interview or audition that Cena's probably been on, like the early acting ventures. That it's but like only you can hear all of your fears and anxieties being confirmed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just great. Again, just they were such jerks to him, and you feel for him. You understand completely why he's in such a bad mood and kind of despondent, and just kind of like why he makes the decision that he makes. Basically, Peacemaker's having like the worst day ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But then we move over to Amelia Harcourt, where she's being evaluated by a psychologist in the NSA, and the NSA psychologist's conclusion is that she has a severe case of toxic masculinity.
Now, here's a question for you.
All right.
Okay, how much of this do you think is now? I know obviously what we see later at the bar, a little bit here and there. The diagnosis that he lays on her isn't inaccurate. Obviously, there's some foundation. We see some foundation for it later on when she, kind of like she acts out in the bar and she's looking to pick a fight and all that. But how much of it do you think is like he's coming up with, like, to use the term toxic masculinity and everything? Or do you think how much of it do you think is like a genuine diagnosis versus like Waller blackballing everyone? And this guy's probably been told to like give her some reason why it's a no.
I mean, both can be true.
That's what I'm saying. I think it is kind of both, but I think it's interesting. I mean, like I think it could just be he had a line that just kind of happened to be true, or it's like based on like, well, I'll give her an evaluation. I know I can't give her a pass, but I'm going to give her an evaluation all the same.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, it's like, well, how many people in intelligence communities don't have that kind of problem to one degree or another, right? Considering how, I mean, there's been advances in representation, but I wouldn't be surprised that the intelligence community is still relatively male-dominant space, and the kind of attributes that are assigned or described as toxic masculinity isn't in full force there. And maybe is Amelia Harcourt kind of being singled out, in terms of blackmailing for qualities that her other, colleagues could likely have, and just like Waller's going after her specifically because of what happened? Or really, when you think about it, I remember in one of the rewatch podcasts, season 1, there's mentioned the fact that, Amelia has some, issues with her father, with her upbringing. And I think just kind of how she acts, it's like, this very much feels like in some sense that she probably grew up with a father figure who maybe was not happy or interested in raising a daughter. And that in her own kind of way, she just molds herself to be the badass action woman who is just basically trying to be the boy or son that her father wished he had. At least that's kind of my read into it. And as probably later episodes go, it might either confirm or, just debunk my hypothesis about what Amelia's going through.
So real quick, this whole scene, this whole thing Amelia's going through, it took me back to a moment when I was rewatching through the show. It reminded me there's a scene that it's a blink and you miss it kind of moment, but it really spoke volumes about their character that seems like we're really delving into here with this scene, the whole toxic masculinity thing, where it said it was this really great scene where the first time she and Peacemaker kind of like he's full costume at the bar, she's just trying to grab a drink, and she's like chasing guys away, and like she beats up a guy, and like Peacemaker's very very turned on by this, and he's putting the moves on her, and basically says, I just want to have a beer and wear makeup, that's all I want to do. And I said that really is, at its core, it's like Amelia Harcourt. She's in a very tricky position where, again, to be the best she is at her field, she's going to have a lot of very, I guess, kind of manly or action man kind of traits that are going on here. She's going to be very
stoic,
macho,
very deliberate. Just kind of logic oriented. Just basically sort of the attributes that we see in, say, people like Reacher.
Yeah.
And she just has to be that, or if not doubly so, because her being a girl, there's this kind of assumptions that go against her favor, so she has to even double down on that just to be given half a chance.
And again, that scene just to me really spoke to me, because it's kind of like, that's the struggle of being kind of the career woman, or at least in the 90s sense, it was kind of like the career woman trope that we saw all over the place, and here
have it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the thing of like, it's really unfair. It's just she just think it's like, why can't I do it? I don't want to have to like dress down or everything just so I don't get hit on. Like that's not fair for anyone. To like they can't.
Yeah.
I just want to. I want to feel pretty. I want to look pretty, and I want to just not be preyed upon by every guy who likes the way I look. It's like you feel for her, and it's basically kind of that vibe. Like Amelia can't catch a break at just being who she is or being great at what she does, and
and along those lines, it's like when she's saying like, I have nothing else, what do I do? And it kind of reminds me a lot of John Walker's admonition of the Global Security Council in Falcon Winter Soldier, where he's like, you raised me and molded me to be this weapon, and I follow your commands to the letter. And they're just kind of left to dry. So I think there's a little bit of commentary about how for certain veterans, maybe not just in the United States, but just around the world, they commit their life to service for their country, and then they come home or just kind of tossed aside and without any regard to their well-being. So I think for Amelia to like afterwards get in her car and just like hit the dashboard where she has bloody knuckles, it's really something to see that character who was just kind of buttoned up and was in charge and was the de facto leader of the team after Mern's death, to have her just be in such an emotionally volatile state and not really be in any condition to lead or even to take care of herself. It's a really interesting place to see, especially for a female character to be in, because I think really only female characters that kind of are in that place, and especially in superhero properties, is like Jessica Jones and Queen Maeve. Like those are the two characters that are really able to kind of inhabit that kind of vulnerability and downward spiral. So it's really interesting to see it hardcore be in that place, and I'm very curious to see where she goes, if she's able to get out of it or just go to the bottom.
And I don't know about you, I'm rooting for her in Peacemaker. Obviously, I think I love how we establish it here. Where again, it's not just we obviously at the end of season 1 we saw there's a hint of like this really sweet moment where he was waiting out there for days, and she appreciated that. So there's a spark of like, she kind of likes him. She's admitted she thinks he's attractive way early on, like in that bar scene. But it's still like there's a lot of growth. But he's been demonstrating that growth, and obviously there was a moment of weakness. They were on a boat. Mm-hmm. Things happened on a boat. But they're both just having this bad day, and it's just the Peacemaker's just feeling very alone right now, and it's not. They're both kind of very much they have like the worst professional day they could have, and it's like I like that he is putting in the work. He wants to be there for her, and he isn't just like asking just for the heck of it. He's actually like wants to know how her day was and everything.
No, it's not. It's a complete 180 to like how he approached her at the bar in season 1. Like it's before they even get into the apartment, the fact that Chris noticed Amelia's hands, like, hey, well, what happened to your hand? And it's very attentive and present with her, as we're going up the stairs and is in the apartment. It's a complete, miracle for Chris to do all that. And I think this is kind of where Cena as an actor really gets to show like how him being this very sensitive and engaged person doesn't feel like out of place. It feels like it's a natural part of how Chris has grown these past several months.
Yeah. All right. So on the whole, with kind of the Peacemaker's team, we really see the ramifications of what Adebayo did at the end of season 1. Basically, in helping Peacemaker out, she really did kind of take a shotgun to the status quo. Well, I guess the then DCEU to DCU, however you want to like equate that. The point being, Suicide Squad. Obviously, we kind of shift over to Creature Commandos because we've essentially, for all intents and purposes, we've kind of retired the Suicide Squad in the interim. At least until some such thing happens, probably after the Amanda Waller show we're doing. The Suicide Squad's kind of like, at least officially, it's been shut down.
Indefinite hiatus.
Yeah, it's an indefinite hiatus. The Creature Commandos kind of picking up the slack there, where they're unofficially just, essentially it's a, it's a different task force M, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So with that, she's Waller's been putting the screws to everybody, and beyond that, I mean, Rick Flag Sr., he's in charge now of Argus. He's in charge of Argus. We have, and Harcourt's been blacklisted. Adebayo, she's essentially living in level 1 of Grand Theft Auto. The Economos, Economos is he's in a interesting place in that he is. I feel so. It's always so weird to me. Economos essentially is the warden of that prison, but he just has nothing to do all day. So people take him for odd jobs. Everyone else in the research capacity that he usually offers.
He's more of a figurehead of Belle Reed, but he's really just Argus's point man.
Yeah.
I'd be kind of curious, like when Rick Flag Sr. became Argus head, like did because the thing is because I'm just trying to remember he was like the warden in Belle Reeve in Creature Command season 1. So I'm just kind of and Rick Flag was there, so I wonder how much time passed between season 1 and now Peacemaker season 2 to where Rick Flag became the head. And then, Economos is kind of.
Do you remember if Creature Commandos takes place after Peacemaker season 2 or before?
You mean after Peacemaker season 1?
Well, no. I mean, technically, does Creature Commandos take place after 2?
No, it takes place after season 1.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. It's the whole thing with the whole Rick Flag hair thing. Is what I'm trying to track, where
he
that
just dyed his hair.
Okay, I know he dyes the hair. I'm just wondering if he maybe he died in Superman. Clearly, I'm just wondering if so it's Creature Commandos, then Superman, then this.
Season 2, yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure. Okay,
yeah,
because we establish here, Economos says it very very plainly that Rick Flag definitely knows Peacemaker, was the one that killed his son. He knows exactly. Now still the question remains: does he know Waller put him up to it?
Well. And probably Waller's defense, he said for him to take care of Rick Flag, and
Yeah.
I guess how do you take care of Rick Flag beyond just killing him, right? Like you just incapacitate him, knock him out, eventually, because he was gunning to reveal it to the press. So unless you just bonk his head and
still, I mean, I'm still convinced this season at some point, Peacemaker's going to sit down and talk to Rick Flag Sr., and that's when he's going to reveal that Waller, we still never really said one way or another if he isn't working with Waller knowing that she gave the order. We still don't know, and I think that's the quiver that's the arrow in the quiver that we have when we need it story-wise this season. We have the big confrontation between those two.
If Rick Flag then just directs his attention towards Waller, and and it could be that Rick Flag Sr. is the antagonist of Waller. Ooh, that'd be interesting. Yeah,
that's what I think. So that either in the Waller show or somehow, because essentially, the way we kind of say is that he's kind of, at least the way I think Grillo's kind of put the media or Grillo's put it is that he's going to be kind of the Nick Fury of the DCU going forward. He's going to be very much the connective, or the Coulson, or the connective tissue somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I think it's a good idea, and so far, so good. All right, anyway, so Vigilante and Economos, I just love the idea. They're calling each other daily, and Teddy earlier on said, I want more turtle facts from Vigilante. I think he means owl facts.
Yes.
He's thinking the wrong side of that Tootsie Roll commercial.
Is mistaking one superhero and animal for another.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway. I do like Vig trying to establish a friendship with or continuing his friendship with Banner with John.
Yeah, which I mean we kind of built that in the last 2 episodes or so of the first season.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if James just has a friend who boasts about knowing all the facts with this one animal and it was an owl or something else and just kind of incorporate that in.
It would not surprise me. I still, in my heart of hearts, especially rewatching the first season, it really does feel like Freddie Stroma is the spirit animal of James Gunn. It very much feels like if James Gunn could cast himself, it would buy it the young James Gunn. It would be Freddie Stroma.
I feel like
because he feels like what James Gunn was as a younger man.
I feel like that was more so Peacemaker than anything else, or Peacemaker or Chris Pratt or Star-Lord, one of the two.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, James Gunn did like in an interview said.
Well, obviously he puts like, every James Gunn project he puts his heart and soul and little pieces of himself in these movies. You can make the argument for pretty much any of the movies that he does. There's at least one character that is like the James Gunn kind of touchstone. Like for example, yes, you got Star Lord for sure. I honestly I think he kind of is more his own character than he is James Gunn. But obviously, the musical component that's the James Gunn.
A Rocket.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, then you can maybe make the argument for Rocket. And Super, like the Rainn Wilson character, James Gunn.
And then for the Suicide Squad, I feel like it's definitely Peacemaker.
Well, honestly, yeah, it's probably Peacemaker. Maybe Polka Dot Man, probably Peacemaker.
No, because I think like if we're talking about like James Gunn back like in his early youth and whatever, like I think Peacemaker in terms of his music, in terms of just kind of his personality, it's like
the overall, Peacemaker does have like the musical kind of aspect of James Gunn as well. So, yeah, sure. Well, point being, like even there's not localizing it to one character. You're right. On the whole, Peacemaker is a lot of James Gunn there, and I guess James Gunn growing up is kind of Peacemaker season 2 with Peacemaker himself. But I don't know. I'm just saying, like, still, Freddie Stroma. I've always loved this Stroma. Just with his name, it just feels like trauma. Just with the early.
I mean, it's crazy that they were able to get someone because you, as you may or may not remember, like there was a different actor in place for Vigilante, and then they had to reshoot all the scenes with a whole different actor with Freddie Stroma coming in. So the fact that he just kind of knocked it out of the park and had this like great gel of chemistry with the cast was, it's very lucky. And I don't know if you are more aware of this now, but it actually happened again for a different character for this season as well.
Oh, that I did not know. This season?
Yes, and it's specifically Michael Rooker's character.
Oh,
all the scenes were done by a different actor, and it just wasn't working for a reason. So they switched. So they have Michael Rooker come in to play that character.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which is like, man, the fact that once, I guess, I feel like James Gunn, he has a very specific like take and vision, and I think that's kind of the part about why he's still thorough in the casting process, because if you get someone that's really 100% there, like even the difference between 99 and 100%, it's best to kind of maximize, a close alignment to one's vision. And I really am curious, like how Michael Rooker plays his character specifically, and also who the other actor was beforehand, because I don't think I've ever seen any reports about any other actor.
I remember there was the screenshot that they had, but I don't know if that was Rooker in the screenshot or that was the original actor, because they teased this guy in like a photo they released way back when the beginnings of Peacemaker season 2.
I mean, in terms of the fit, body type, is not. I mean, not saying Rooker isn't like any bad. Like,
well, that's the thing. I mean, I assume it was the original actor, but I mean, Rooker could be in shape. I don't know.
Well, I mean, just in terms of his size and stature, like he's just kind of more like an average sized man of his like 60s or something. And the person in that shot that I assume is his character was a little bit more wider framed and like more muscular looking in the back. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a different actor altogether.
Oh, there you go. All right. So, let's see. Okay, so all right. So Peacemaker. Okay, so point being, Economos is he's watching Peacemaker because Rick Flag's basically been looking for an excuse to take Peacemaker down, and recently there've been anomalies going on at his house, which basically are stemming from the dimensional closet. And of course, with all this post-Superman Lex Luthor, wormhole business going on there, it gives him just the excuse that he needs. But right now, again, Economos is kind of covering for Peacemaker. He's going to have Adebayo kind of look into the matter gingerly for him, just to kind of get an explanation to hopefully pull Peacemaker out of the fire on that one. Probably won't end well.
Mm-hmm.
But so speaking of which, so Peacemaker, the crux of kind of where we go in this episode, where we're going for the season is Peacemaker. He's having a drug-fueled orgy at his house after this lousy day that he's had. This feels very classic, very old school James Gunn. This house orgy that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So. We had some comments earlier here. Hunter Iggy earlier on says, "What's your thoughts on the Snyder Bros and normal people getting triggered by the sex scene, basically the orgy that we have?"
I mean, I will say that this is an adult show, and in the first season, there was an explicit sex scene between John Cena and one of the characters. So the show is what the show is.
Peacemaker, he gets it done.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did. He got a lot of action the first season. It was on his mind a lot.
I mean, he was fully clothed. So was he really getting on the action?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like you said yourself, it was an explicit sex scene. We had, there was thrusting, and we had thrusting, we had afterglow.
Season 2, because it just feels like he hosted an orgy. But
you're right. I'm saying, I was talking about season 1, but yeah, you're right. Season 2, though, he's there. I mean, in general, though, the show is, yeah. So not this season. He's not really, he's getting into it this season. But I mean, he was being, people were nuzzling up to him. You don't know what happened in between the cuts. I don't know.
True.
I think you're right. I think he was just being part. It was kind of like it's like Jesse Pinkman's kind of like his downward. Well, not I won't say downward spot, but basically the apathy, like kind of the down moment Jesse Pinkman was having after the big shooting.
The disassociation is kind of what. And I think what's so really. So I remember seeing watching the podcast about this episode from the official James Gunn podcast, and like Steve Agee's reaction was an actual genuine reaction, because he didn't know what to expect to see, because he saw orgy and didn't think that in mind like what that would look like, or what that or internalize what that actually meant. And so him seeing that's like his just genuine reaction, which I just think it's interesting to hear James Gunn's process, because in the podcast for this episode, he mentions how he doesn't like directing sex scenes. He has a story about when he started out filming Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
One of the things he had to do was direct a sex scene between two women, and the awkwardness he felt about doing that, just made him not want to do ever having to write or direct a sex scene, because that's just something he's not comfortable with. But
we have a very uncomfortable sex scene in Super.
Yeah. And so but I think he mentioned about how for this particular sequence, he's really glad to have an intimacy coordinator and talk about the logistics of directing, of making this kind of scene. And the way it is, it's like, for those who may be interested in the process, is that it's a relatively close set. It's only just a central crew for that particular scene. Like the director's not there at the actual location of the scene. Well, it's not like he's far away. It's just kind of there's just like a layer, and then behind it, it's like a director's camp or something like that, where James is looking at the
it's Video Village.
Yeah, Video Village. And whenever there's a cut, there's like people with blankets that are put upon the actors, as just to cover themselves as they're waiting for the camera to roll back in. And so just hearing all the logistics of it, it's like, wow, this is something that you will never hear most directors talk about, besides people that maybe are into the more risque, erotic kind of a deal. So it was really fascinating to see James Gunn explain that kind of process. And I think what's really important is just the fact that as this all is going on, this kind of hedonism, the very libertine,
very Hero-gasm-esque from the boys.
Yeah. Like
a lot of people were I'm always puzzled by the people who were really disappointed by when we did the Hero-gasm thing from the boys versus the comic, and it's like, come on, guys, it's like what we don't need to drag that out. We had it was represented, and I think the most you're going to get from it is what we did in Peacemaker here. Okay, it's like that without superpowers.
I think going back to it, that scene, I think was really important is the fact that Chris is he started out snorting cocaine, smoking bong, and he's not really enjoying. He's not really feeling the escape. So that's kind of what he feels to just go into the QUC and explore the multiverse. And I think what's funny about it, just before we get into that, is that according to John Cena,
did you say QVC?
QUC.
Oh, QUC. Okay.
QUC. Yeah, QUC. The quantum.
QVC. That'd be hilarious.
No, the quantum unfolding chamber.
Right.
He mentions John Cena mentioned in for this podcast, and James Gunn goes into it, is that John Cena has never done any sort of drugs ever. And so he needed to have some of the crew members had to kind of help explain like how to like light a bong and like do all this. And then one crew member made a joke to John Cena. It's like, if you want to learn more, we can teach you after hours, which is such a. It's so funny for John Cena to be this like big holding guy that's very wholesome in this respect. So, and apparently James Gunn was kind of annoyed that John Cena didn't know how to do drugs, which is.
Well, I think he did. He had the fake using like bongs and everything in the first season. So.
Well, did he? Oh, I think he did. Did he do a bong hit?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There. Well, here's the thing. I think we did. Did we also do the bong hit in this episode, or otherwise that was in season 1?
No, I think he did a bong hit because I remember.
So we do the bong hit here, and then he's also using the he's using like the little like the joint, as well as he definitely used the joint like the afterglow in the first season. He had a bong. Now we saw it used. If it wasn't here, then we saw it used somewhere in season.
Because he blows out smoke into Goff's.
It's in the first season. He does it into Goff's jar.
Maybe it was a particular bong that it was using for that scene. I don't know, but I also remember he mentioned this detail about like the cocaine is that apparently fake cocaine in the movies it's B12 that when someone snorts it, it like flushes your face and it just looks all red or whatever. And apparently the fake cocaine that they used was something that didn't like affect his sinuses or make his face look kind of weird. So he was kind of remarked upon that. And, I think the fact that like as John is going, or as not John, as Peacemaker is going into the QUC, Steve H's character John Economos is seeing all this. He takes a photo of it, but he doesn't tell Rick Flag that the QUC is opening up or whatever crazy shit's going on. And I appreciate Rick Flag is like, I need an agent on his tail. I don't trust it.
Yeah. Again, Rick Flag's smart. I always liked that about his character. That Senior is really smart,
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like for him to be in the military intelligence since he was 18, like, being an old man in a relatively young to middle age, kind of life, you have to be really good at your job.
Well, yeah, but I know I'm just saying, like even like Creature Commanders, we saw this guy. He's smarter than the average bear, so to speak. He's he's the guy who's he's calling out like, okay, look, he hears what Frankenstein has to say, and he's like, okay, look, we're just gonna he talks it over with him versus just mindlessly. This guy's trying to kill me, and like just kind of rolling with it afterwards. Like he's actually communicating with the monsters, and he's seeing like he's reading into the scam that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not taking the bait like most people usually would. So he's not a stooge. He's not like kind of a plot. He's not a plot fixture,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so okay, so Peacemaker. So again, he kind of escapes his troubles and he goes to kind of the trio world, as it were. He goes to the non-counter. He goes to the alternative Earth.
Yes.
And Augie is a nice guy here. Basically, it's kind of like the opposite of It's a Wonderful Life. It's kind of like the perfect world. He's going to like a better world. He's going to a world in which everything worked out for him in life. So his father's alive and he's a nice guy. He's a tough guy, but he's still a nice guy. Big reveal. And I love this reveal, and I love who he got because I knew he was going to show up in this. I didn't know who he was cast as, and this is an excellent reveal because he looks a little different than he usually does. We had David Denman playing Keith. So Keith is alive in this universe. The brother was basically it seems to me like I know we're not subscribing to the same rules as like the MCU's multiverse and everything. It was like kind of the what if in question here is like I think is like what if Keith did die. It's kind of seems to be the main causal kind of thing maybe.
I don't think it's the main causal. I think it's just like what if Chris. I think there's a lot of different things in this universe. I think it's just kind of
you're right. It is a lot of different things, but
Because here's the thing, it's like they live in a mansion. Really nice manor and all. So
what if they weren't white trash, maybe, or something? I don't know.
They're like waspy superheroes.
Yeah. Like what if Augie had a better life? It's really what if Augie had a better life? What if he did, let me ask, I guess the presumption is this Augie is not a white supremacist. What if Augie wasn't a white supremacist? Maybe that's where it is.
Yeah, there'd be a lot to it.
Do you think it's that, or do you think what if Augie is a redeemed white supremacist? Not that should be a thing, but in this example, he still has the white. It's like a white dragon thing, but it's blue. But Mhm.
I mean, I could see it where maybe they're just kind of more like well-mannered. I mean, because I will talk about this later on when we see the old Peacemaker. But I feel like there's something that's like maybe not off because I think when old Peacemaker comes in, he's very like he's a lot more aggressive than I would imagine this Peacemaker to be. Because I think he's kind of has a more sort of reputation of a hero. And I wonder maybe they're not, maybe the twist, there's not like a twist because I feel like James Gunn's making the point constantly during the interviews is that you can't just abandon your current life for the opportunity to better life.
Which I love that as the sell of like, he's going to hijack this other Peacemaker's life, but there's got to be some string attached there. Like, how is this how do we get him back to, how do we get him to go back?
I mean, it could be the case that like maybe the world is just a little maybe it's kind of more like the Justice Sword kind of a deal where maybe it's like they are heroes, but they're just in a more like authoritarian kind of world, a world that permits some level of violence.
Entirely possible.
Because like old Peacemaker has like magic stars that's like making cuts on Chris's back. It's like that's. I mean, they're not like they're heroes.
Well, I mean, Rohit, the way I read it, the way like the kind of the show, and I think I forget if I heard anything about this, but this kind of the vibe that I get just with the big sell line of the show is that it's Peacemaker. Like right now, Peacemaker is this is the way that Peacemaker is kind of being seen by everyone. This is basically what if this other world is. What if those qualities did not disqualify him from being a hero, and he was lauded as a hero? Like, what if we it? I guess in a weird sense, it's kind of like what if the Snyder version of Peacemaker was lauded? What if we played it, in a sense, I'm not trying to stoke the flames with that. I'm just saying, like, it's like the premise, like, what if we exaggerate like the elements that are kind of precluding Peacemaker from joining the ranks and being labeled a hero? But what if we indulge in that and just kind of pushed it forward? And like, this world like is fully okay with those methods and encourages those methods and like says, no, you don't have to soften it at all. No, that's how we want our heroes. Which I mean, looking at it, just it's occurring to me in the moment, it's like, well, I mean, it is kind of like in line with kind of like what our Snyder Batman and everything is kind of
But it's like more explicitly the public
Yeah.
going along with it rather than the hero just doing it and then the public having like mixed feelings about it. No, I think
Exactly.
that's a possibility. Do you know what Keith's brothers or what's Keith's like superhero name?
That we don't know yet. Do you know?
It was so it's been mentioned in the breakdown for like two channels like did breakdowns of this. So his character's name, his superhero identity is Captain Triumph.
Captain Triumph.
Yes, he's a character from the Golden Age, and the background's unique. It's like basically there's these two brothers. I think they're from Germany. They come to the U.S. and then one of them dies. And then there's something that leads to them where for the one remaining brother to like have powers and like save the day, whatever, he has to be in tune with like his deceased brother's spirit. And I think I don't know like what that looks like in terms of the power set for Captain Triumph, but I think the fact that this character is so linked with like a deceased brother is kind of an interesting way to kind of have Keith to be the deceased brother is kind of part of this family trio. And because I could not tell from the costume like who his character was going to be. There's several other characters in consideration. So Captain Triumph, I think it is interesting that kind of name, especially the character being from Germany to America, because in the comics, Peacemaker's father it was like a Nazi. Camps, and for the show is retrofitted to basically combine his father with this one existing character, White Dragon. He has a white supremacist his father. So I'm kind of interested to see maybe like they're not white supremacists, but like they're very law and order types. That maybe there's not a racialized element to how they enforce the law or do go about justice, but the world is maybe not the most nicest place, but the world has kind of just been altered in a way to where they can be good people, but their methods are not the most heroic.
And they've taken down Ultra Humanite and the Rainbow.
And the Rainbow
Yeah. Very deep cuts.
One a Batman villain and one a Superman villain.
Uh-huh. I was shocked to see the Rainbow creature making the cut.
Yeah, I think he appeared in what, Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Wait, do you mean the comic or the show?
The show.
Well, I think so, but I can't remember if we ended up like keeping Rainbow Creature if we just simplified it to Crazy Quilt because of the whole color. I don't remember.
No, it was the Rainbow Creature. I'm looking at.
Well, I know in the comic they're doing like the Rainbow Creature from the comics. I want to say the cold open of one of the Brave and the Bolds was him fighting the Rainbow Creature, but if it wasn't the Rainbow Creature, that's how they did it.
Nope, there's a Rainbow Creature in the Brave and the Bold.
All right, cool.
He kind of looks more like a bear-ish, but I think
Right.
but
there you go. Anyway, okay, so the point being, again, great acting with Cena here, where he looks like he's Cena Ghost again. Now, of course, the great thing with the casting of David Denman is he was in Brightburn.
And he was also Royce in The Office, which
Yep.
his James Gunn's ex-wife,
Jenna Fisher.
Jenna Fisher as Pam.
Who he's on good terms with.
Yes. And he also was in Rebel Ridge, which also included fellow DCU co-star Aaron Pierre, who's now going to be playing John Stewart, Green Lantern, and Lantern's coming out sometime next year.
Yeah, David Denman's a good actor, and he was really good in Brightburn, by the way. If I know if anyone's Brightburn was kind of like the dark version of the Superman origin. Now James Gunn didn't make that movie; he produced it, and I think is one of his brothers.
No, it's directed by David Yarovesky.
Right. Okay. So it was James Gunn, and who else? Another Gunn produced.
I know. I think two of his brothers were co-writers on that movie, and I think he just produced it.
That's what it was. Okay, that's what I was thinking of. All right. But so that was. Which again, the Brightburn's it's interesting. You know, I don't say it's like not a go-to, but it is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so so again, so him playing Keith, we have this scene where they're in like the fancy study and they're having like this talk about the interdimensional imps.
It's a wholesome but raunchy scene as much as James Gunn could write that scene, and I think you just kind of feel for Chris, but also kind of feel happy that he's having this like very nice moment with, even though they're not his actual brother and father.
It's everything he ever wanted.
Yeah.
I love the heartbreaking moment for me in the best of ways, and the bittersweet moment where his brother's leaving the room, he grabs him by the arm and says, like, I love you, Keith. And he's kind of, you get out of here. It's, but like in a jovial kind of way.
Yeah, and then as soon as they leave, I remember James Gunn mentioned the podcast where it's just like, and Cena just cries and just bursts out in full force, and James Gunn was just so impressed with how John Cena was able to break down to like that, like quickly and effectively.
Yeah, again, how can you not? I mean, you, the audience member, would be going that way practically watching that scene,
Yeah, like James Gunn mentioned that like it's hard for a lot of good actors to be able to do that on command. So it's high praise for James Gunn, and I think John Cena is just really putting 110% into this role. So I'm very excited to see where he goes with the character, both comedically and emotionally throughout the season.
Okay, so basically, so the Peacemaker of that universe, the long sleeve Peacemaker, I always like that as the distinction, by the way. So the long sleeve Peacemaker, he was on business in Bloodhaven, but he came back early, much to our Peacemakers, DCU Peacemakers' dismay, as he is. He basically gets the title image that we have here, where he wants to explain himself, but this other Peacemaker, he's not exactly in a listening mood, and he tries running again. Let me ask you this: a conversation was starting, and then our Peacemaker, he basically kind of like threw some of that and he ran away, and then we hit him with the stars and everything. Do you think the other Peacemaker would have actually heard him out, or do you think he was like moments away from shooting him in the back of the head?
Moments away, especially
because he said, "You're in my house. I have every right," and then that's where.
Yeah, and also the fact that like you could be some shapeshifter, Let's like.
Yeah. Hey, remind me, the Dove of Peace is the actual for our Peacemaker is the Dove of. I'm just looking at the image here. So it occurs to me. So our alternate universe Peacemaker, his Dove of Peace is like facing upwards, like
the colors are shift. Whereas for our Peacemaker, it's a yellow background with a white dove that's facing downward.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, but when Chris is going to the old Peacemaker's room, all the posters, the bands just have different spellings and different names.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we have a really awesome, really brutal fight. I love the magic stars. I saw them, and I love this. Like, oh god, I could just feel the tension of like, oh, he's not going to be under that coat in time.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a brutal fight. And again, I love that our Peacemaker he's trying not to fight, he's just trying to flee. And basically, he's fighting defensively, which rarely does he do.
Yeah.
And again, maybe ultimately, so there's something very. It's kind of like Peacemaker's psyche here, especially since one of them is not wearing the costume. It's very much kind of Chris at war with. Yes, you could kind of read it as this is kind of Chris at war with like how everyone sees him or how he feels everyone sees him as like the very gun ho Peacemaker identity.
Very, very Superman 3.
Yeah, exactly. It's very Superman 3. And he's fighting him, and it's pretty much like the most aggressive and deadly and violent, everything that he feels the Justice Gang rejected him for. And he's fleeing away from that. He's barely putting up a fight against it. He's just being, it's overwhelming. It's overtaken him, and it's a really great fight in that regard. That he is very much kind of at war with everything that every regret or hesitation he's been having about himself, and throughout the episode has kind of culminated in this literalization of it. And it's I love that he has the jetpack, which is a running gag in the first season where he wanted the jetpack, and so this one has the jetpack, which is also his undoing, which is really great.
Yeah, that's a monkey spot situation right there. It's like, oh, I want a jetpack, and you just pawn it off the dead body of your alt universe doppelganger.
Which, by the way, I'm convinced the jetpack's also a bit, at least especially the way we use it, bit of a RoboCop nod.
I think Peacemaker in the comics has a jet. I mean,
No,
maybe
no, no, no. He does have it. No, you're right. He does have a jetpack in the comics. I'm just saying though, just the idea of like you have like the big elongated RoboCop esque gun that we give him the jetpack. It's kind of like I'm just saying with James Gunn's taste, it wouldn't. Plus, we referenced RoboCop in like Guardians. I'm just throwing it out there as a
and RoboCop the remake had Joel Kinnaman, so
yeah. Not saying it seriously, like it's direct. Oh, it's just taken from RoboCop. It's kind of trash.
no, it's just it's in the face. And it ends there, and I'm just and
the impalement was shocking and awesome. I just love like the realization sinking in, just the reaction on the two Peacemakers of just like he's kind of killed himself. He's killed that side of himself, and he's just this the regret and it's like the whole there are no words, and that's the episode.
Man, I kind of wonder if James Gunn was thinking about like, oh, what if I just have the old universe Peacemaker just hanging there, and or just spinning around, just kind of or hanging on the roof, because that'd be an gnarly image. But I think just with the way the shot ends, it's just Chris has gotten himself in some deep shit. So we're good.
That's a perfect episode 1 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's about it. That's episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So again, pretty solid. And again, it's kind of promising a very solid season 2.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see where this goes. I don't know if you know this Dragon, but so the first 5 episodes have been shared with the press, but the episodes 6 to 8 have not been shared with anyone. Because apparently there's like crazy cameos and stuff that happens. So I'm very excited to see who shows up.
Well, I think it's a safe bet Superman's going to show up.
Do you have any ideas of who else is going to likely show up? Because I have a few ideas of my own that I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's people technically in that silhouette, we kind of had Superman and Supergirl, so they could always say technically they did show up.
But but I'm just kind of curious, who do you want to see show up in episode 6 to 8 besides just Superman and Supergirl?
I would really love Kite Man to make an appearance.
That's a good one.
Because we did reference him, and the idea. So James Gunn's like he's gone on record at some point. Again on record and quote. He said he's responded. He said like whatever is said, and I think somewhere I read that pretty much everything with the exception of the reshot Justice League thing, everything that was said in like that gets brought up again in Peacemaker. That was from Peacemaker season 1 happened. However, the Batmite that scene is also excised. So basically, it sounds like James Gunn has plans with mix Spitalik and Batmite, so he doesn't want to say like I don't know how seriously to take that because he did say that, but I don't know.
I would love to see Bat-Mite show up in the Brave and the Bold because my God,
So that's the thing. So Batmite, I'm sure. I think James Gunn eventually is going to do Batmite, but I think he's just trying to say, like, the Peacemaker Batmite reference. It was maybe it's like he had no idea he would ever actually be able to do Batmite, but now that he can.
Yeah, it's possible. I remember seeing an interview like James Gunn asked about Blue Beetle, and I think he's kind of the way he's coy about the response makes me think he'll show up in one of those episodes. I'm curious, Dragon, if you're in the up and up about a certain character from the JLA roster that's been rumored to have this particular actor playing this part in the DCU.
Well, I mean, do you mean JLI or JLA?
JLI.
Oh, JLI. That's probably going to be Glenn Powell as Booster Gold, right?
No, that's not who is specifically stated to be Booster Gold.
Blue Beetle?
No. It is Booster Gold, but it's not that actor.
Oh, really? I've been hearing a lot of Glenn Powell energy for Booster Gold.
It is not Glenn Powell.
Okay, who is it?
So the reporting that's been made, Kumail Nanjiani as Booster Gold in the DCU.
Oh, I think I heard murmurs of. I didn't know that was. I heard that way back when, but that's still
one of the people who run. There's an outlet called Nexus Point News that does a lot of exclusive and scoops on geeky properties and all that. And the person who is involved with the outlet that I know through one of the servers in Discord, he's very adamant that Kumail Nanjiani is Booster Gold, and we'll see him likely in episode 6 or 8.
Huh. You said in season 3?
No. Like this season in episode 6 or 8 is where we're likely going to see Booster Gold played by Kumail Nanjiani.
Huh. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it would stand to reason that it probably wouldn't be Glenn Powell, given he's been doing stuff lately.
I don't know if Warner Brothers could afford Glenn Powell for a long-running role.
I mean, I guess you're probably right. I don't know. I'm on the fence about Nanjiani. I think he personality-wise, I think he can do it. I just hope growth-wise he can. We never really. I've only seen Nanjiani challenged one time, and he did a really great job. He did that the movie that was based on his real life, the Big Sick. Yeah, the Big Sick was probably the best Nanjiani performance I've ever seen. Yeah, because that had like the humor and also had the growth for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you kind of need that ultimate Booster Gold to really sell the charm of the character, where he is like he's the funny screw up, but again per the James Gunn kind of formula, he would be like absolutely kind of what you want in a character, and that James Gunn to kind of be in his playground from the kind of toy around with.
Yeah.
I think Nanjiani has the potential to do it, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think we can look to. Have you never seen the show Poker Face on Peacock? Have you?
No, I have not.
I would recommend checking it out. It's basically like a mystery of the week kind of show.
No, I know about Poker Face. I have not watched Poker Face.
There is an episode where Kumail Nanjiani plays a very Florida man character. And I feel like that his performance Obi-Wan Kenobi, his performance as Kingo, and have you seen Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
Yep, no, I've seen that.
So like I feel like those performances provide some template of what a Booster Gold will look like, and it'd be funny to see Kumail Nanjiani with the blonde hair. I feel like there's a lot that you can do with the character. And
I know one thing: they have to give him blonde. If they don't give him blonde hair, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, he did put on blonde hair for Ghostbusters, so he's not.
Would you call that blonde though?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because you can see roots, it's still blonde hair.
I mean, come on, it's Booster Gold. He needs like gold hair.
All right. So
that's the whole gag. He needs,
Well, I mean, his outfit is gold, so
I know. Yes, the outfit is gold. You
want gold everywhere. You want the Midas touch for Kumail Nanjiani's hair.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. I'd be very curious though if he is. I think he's very likely to be Booster Gold. I'm very curious, like if we get Ted Cord Blue Beetle, who's going to play him? I know the director for the Blue Beetle movie, wants Jason Sudeikis as Blue Beetle, which
I would like that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and with nothing else, we'll be excited to see. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few Charlton characters that show up in the episode 6 to 8. Maybe not, but we'll see. I think it's a good start. I'm very, very curious to see like how Chris explores the universe and meets up with alt universe Harcourt. And
now, I think you're going to remember this because I was very certain about this, but I keep questioning it. Do you remember? Peacemaker was the equivalent for the comedian in Watchmen, right? He was the Charlton equivalent for the comedian.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. Okay, so that is accurate. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, so basically, let's see, it was Captain Adam was Dr. Manhattan. You had Peacemaker as the comedian. You had the Question as Rorschach, and
Blue Beetle was Night Owl.
Blue Beetle was Night Owl. What about it was like Nightshade was Silk Spectre?
Yes.
Did we have an Ozymandias?
Yes, it is. Let me just see. The Peter Kane at Thunderbolt.
Okay. All right. Well, they can't all be winners, but okay, there you go then. So it's So I mean, part of me would love to see. Look, it's in general, we are in desperate need across the board with DC in general. I mean, the Question needs to be in live action at some point, especially, we've already, I mean, look, even as far as our Watchmen adaptations go, I know it's two very different characters, I get that. But just the fact that we've done kind of like the faceless detective-y kind of character, and, we did once and great with, with the Snyder Watchmen. And, then we did kind of like, I still was never crazy how we handled the Rorschach of it all in the Damon Lindelof Watchmen, which was great, but it was something very different. And I don't know, it just feels like I think there's enough time has passed since we've done like a Rorschach that we could get away finally with like doing the Question and making him his own thing, and just because again in the DC AU, the gag was we basically played the Question kind of like Rorschach. Basically, it's Jeffrey Combs playing Rorschach to a degree.
Well, he's more so playing Fox Mulder.
Well, okay, you're right. Fair point.
Yeah,
I'm just saying in general there are Rorschach cadences.
His like dial delivery was definitely on the Rorschach side of things, but his overall personality was more Fox Mulder. Yeah. Because of the whole '90s X-Files show. I'm very interested to see how the Question is characterized in the DCU, because I mean there's the Dennis O'Neill's take, like reinvention that character and that seminal run. That
it feels like that would logically James Gunn would have to go with that one. That's probably he would have to go with the Denny O'Neil one.
Yeah, because I feel like with the whole Question being like a funny conspiracy theorist, like I feel like in light of the current climate regarding conspiracy theories, I feel like it might not be as charming and endearing as
I'm going to be honest. With Peacemaker, and we have to wrap this up. We don't want to go too long on this, but it feels like with Peacemaker, you have a great opportunity to basically do kind of what we do Creature Commandos, where we want the unwanted toys of the DC universe. We want the unexplored corners. We want kind of the oddballs that are from the history of the big leagues. But we want the oddballs, and that's where James Gunn thrives. And but there's going to be the temptation, marketing standpoint, of like we want the big guns. We want the we want the characters we saw in the Superman movie. We want characters that are like the name brands, but with the new spin on them, they kind of set them up for other things. So I think there's an argument for both, but it feels like there's a great temptation to basically go in the full Charlton early, kind of the DC Charlton kind of kind of like the unwanted kind of, or like the very the oddball kind of variety of characters.
The Charlton characters aren't as much of an oddball as they're made out to be. Like Blue Beetle, the Question, and Captain are probably the most like prominent, non-native DC characters in the DC universe as a whole. I think they're more prominent than at certain points, like Captain Tomorrow or Shazam. And
it definitely feels like, per your points earlier, we should be leaning more JLI than JLA.
Yeah. And
Blue Fire and Ice. We could absolutely get Fire and Ice.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there was also a recent news that there is a Mr. Miracle animated series that has Tom King, the writer of the series, Mr. Miracle, show running for that, and Miracle and Barda were in JLI, so we'll be interested to see like how that if that show is in the DCU canon.
James Gunn has been saying, he's been touting this off about the whole like the everything's going to be crossing between live action, animation, and video games. And the video game thing is still left to be seen.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that one goes. That one might. A lot of people are casting doom on. Like a lot of people say he's out of his mind if he thinks he can like tie in the game successfully, as people have tried and failed to do over the years.
I think the Star Wars model is a pretty good way to
I think he can do it. I'm just saying a lot of people are some people have been kind of saying, "Oh, come on, it's promises, James." Let's see. Do you guys think that Guy Gardner would get with Ice in this DCU? Yeah, it's Nathan Fillion, of course.
It's not just Guy. It's not Guy Gardner as a person or his growth. It's just Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion's got charm for days. Every mother in the world loves him, of course.
I mean, he's probably out of both the actors of Superman and in the show, he's like him and Cena are probably the most beloved by general audiences.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Nathan Fillion like has like the Rookie, that's like such a long running show. I feel like
just delightful. I love that Rookie show, by the way. It's great.
I got into that show in the past year or two, and it's interesting to see like how it's a pretty long running successful show. And Nathan Fillion, after Firefly, he's done pretty well for himself in the world of TV, and I'm very curious, like for Guy Gardner and all of that, like if he's gonna obviously be in like whatever that follow up is to Superman, and it's gonna be in Lantern, so Nathan Fillion is gonna be eating pretty well as an actor. There's a question I wanted to ask you because I thought something came to mind.
You gotta remember, it's interesting that Tom King has a big impact on what James Gunn's doing with a lot of his stuff, and Tom King's been penning a lot of like the classic DC characters. So, Supergirl's going to be a huge Tom King influence project. Mr. Miracle is clearly as direct as Tom King as you're going to get.
He's the showrunner, and Tom King is one of the main writers on Lanterns.
In many respects, it feels like we're really making up to Tom King after that whole Ava DuVernay, New Gods project that fell through.
Jeff Johns is just punching the air, wishing wishing his involvement in the DC universe was successful.
Yeah, it's a shame too because Jeff Johns was kind of the hope, like maybe we found our Feige or something.
Now he's just running Ghost Machine, and probably he's making more money than he ever did at DC.
I met Jeff Johns, and he's very lovely to me. By the way, he's a very sweet guy, and he gave out everybody a copy of his Geiger comic from. What's the imprint
Ghost
called?
Machine.
Yeah, Ghost Machine. Yeah, the Ghost. I believe it's from Ghost Machine. It's Geiger, which is a really cool premise for a character. It was like this radioactive, like a radiation-based hero character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm saying Jeff Johns was cool. And again, I really love Jeff Johns. Really did have passion for his characters. I think he was very much he was an impetus of the idea guy, but just when he would tackle the stories, sometimes it just his event stories. He had great concepts and great payoffs, but just the road getting there was I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how much what other projects will come out. There is one project that I know details or reporting on, and I don't know if you want to discuss about it here or want to end it off, and we'll discuss you off the air. But with what are in the plans to work for DCU, we're going to be in a very interesting place. The superhero genre, both for film and television, if all what Gunn's wanting to do with DC's comes to pass.
Yeah. Which so far, to my, again, we don't want to get into the full thing here, but let's just say it seems that I want to say Superman was was the winner of box office wise of all the superhero movies we've gotten this year. I think we don't have anything else coming out, right?
It's the first DC film since 2008 to be the number one comic book movie.
That's the thing. So I mean, Superman really won out this year. So I think the big question is like, if Superman didn't succeed, there would have been questions about, especially with Zaslav on the whole like pull funding button. It's say things seem to be going well.
Yeah, and I think with the fact that people really like Superman and the world and all the characters, with whatever the follow up is, there's going to be an audience there to watch, and I think things will only go up from here.
Yep. All right, so let's thank the folks who tuned in, listened to our prattlings. We had Sonia Pantoja, we had Hunter Iggy, we had Smurfy's Law. I love that name, especially since I've been playing the RoboCop game today. Got Teddy, got Kogias Anime Fan, Travis Mitchell. Okay, real quick. Travis Mitchell had a really good comment I meant to mention earlier. Kevin Smith always talked about the question. Give him an animated episode of one of the DCU shows, then introduce him in a larger capacity later. I mean, yeah, there was Kevin Smith's always pitched the question. I forget if like Kevin's actually been attached to a few DC projects that almost happened that were really interesting. One of them was I forget if it was I don't think it was going to be I think it was supposed to be live action. It was supposed to be like a short of some kind. It was either a short or like a pilot. It was going to be like a special, maybe. It wasn't going to be like a full-length movie. It was about basically it was Jimmy Olsen and Perry White, and you would have had like John Goodman as Perry White. You would have had Zolo, the guy Miguel from Cobra Kai. Zolo, yes, him. He was going to be he was going to be Jimmy Olsen, and then you would have had Nick Cage as Bizarro Superman.
Oh wow!
It was what?
When was this?
Yeah, this was right before. I want to say this was right before James Gunn took over.
So like,
I don't know how. I don't think it was like right on the bubble, but it was like there was some period. It was gonna be. I think it was gonna be a TV. I think it was gonna be a TV project. I'd have to look it up again to see. But Kevin Smith went on about how this was like a project he was going to do. It didn't sound like it was going to be animated. It sounded like it was going to be live action. It was going to be like on a TV thing, but it would have been like almost like a special of sorts. And there's going to be like DC was. They were going to do something. There was a talk of a thing called DC Showcase, or kind of like a live action equivalent of DC Showcase, perhaps.
Oh, like kind of like Marvel special presentations.
Exactly. There was something along those lines, and yeah, they're looking into that. And this is, I want to say this was, I don't know if this was before or after Blue Beetle. It could have been that early on, but that's
Blue Beetle came out August 2023, and James Gunn took over for or this was him and Peter Safran became head of DC Studios in October 2022.
So this probably would have been right. I think he pitched it before then. I forget when he got the word came down that it was a no-go, but it was probably, I don't know if that was like because of Blue Beetle or before Blue Beetle. The point being, for many reasons, they kind of canned like the ideas that were going on there. But Kevin Smith, basically, the whole idea was like Jimmy Olsen, Perry White end up in the Bizarro world, I think, and I think that was the reveal. They were going to end up in the Bizarro world, and they're looking for, oh my God, Superman. And then it's going to be, it would have been a reveal over time that things are, man, Superman's kind of saving the day all wrong. What's going on here? And then it would have been revealed that, okay, that's actually our Nick Cage Superman is not Nick Cage Superman, but in fact, Bizarro Superman. The ending was supposed to be a Superman that you probably wouldn't see would like show up, and he would like off screen he would address him, and you would have had the Nick Cage Bizarro Superman go Superman, like the Iron Giant at the end of the Iron Giant movie.
Okay.
That's essentially what it's the long and short of Kevin Smith's kind of pitch was for what his project was going to be. But anyway, but yeah, so yeah, he's been pitching the question for a long time. It's a shame that we still haven't gotten it, but fingers crossed. That would not be a bad idea if I had to do it, Travis.
I can see the question being like a noir mystery HBO Max show.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. That would make all the sense in the world.
Yeah, especially because there's a lot of good talent that have been on HBO productions that could be playing the question. Justin Theroux, throw that out there.
No, that's solid guessing, honestly. However, I don't know. Theroux. Look, I mean you're, off the top of my head, you're right. He would be really good in that role. It's just I don't know if he's earned it.
What does one need to do to earn the role of the question?
No, I'm just saying, it's like Justin Theroux. It's like we kind of wasted him a lot a lot of stuff since The Leftovers. He's just like, he shows up as like the nameless cameo guy, and in The Last Jedi, just feels like
he did like a good like had a lead role in this one show, the Mosquito Coast. So he's due for another try to HBO production. And if not him, there's Sam Rockwell. There's
of course Rockwell. Come on, Rockwell's
Bill
fantastic.
Hader.
Oh my God, yes. Give me Bill Hader question. That'd be okay. Yes, Bryan Cranston's the question. Would be great. Cranston you can cast as anyone.
Bryan Cranston, you can have him as one of the supporting characters. Aristotle Knott, who's the scientist that makes like the mask for Big Stage to put on.
Yeah, but at some point we gotta give Cranston like a real meaty lead role. At some point.
That's fair. It's either Gordon or.
See, it would make me too happy in life if we actually cast Bryan Cranston as Commissioner Gordon in live action. They won't let me have that, Rohith. It's not in the cards at this point. It's never gonna happen. They've offered it to him and he said no. It's never gonna happen.
Maybe he wants to play like a more fun.
They've offered him Lex. They've offered him Gordon. He says, "I want to play a character that hasn't been done before." Again, he said he wanted Mr. Sinister. They never offered him Mr. Sinister.
He said it does before live action, which I don't know if he counts TV. Because if he doesn't count TV, Vandal Savage would be an interesting character.
Of course.
I'm trying to think what other characters we could play that haven't been portrayed on film. Because I feel like that's because Brainiac would be certainly an interesting character for him to play.
Yeah.
Hugo Strange.
Well, of course.
Maxie Zeus.
We can't say Mr. Freeze, unfortunately, but
I feel like for Mr. Freeze, I kind of want to see an Eastern European actor play him because he is a German guy.
All right.
Mads Mikkelsen, Lars Mikkelsen.
Sure. Well, Lars Mikkelsen's going to get typecast as blue characters. We can't just make Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah, there's plenty of Eastern European actors who can play him, but I think Smurfy's pick Highfather. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Bryan Cranston's Highfather. I kind of want Josh Brolin to play Highfather. It'd be kind of interesting, change of pace for him.
Josh Brolin would be perfect for Orion, but
Well, I think we kind of already finished with this has become the DCU speculation.
Anyway, folks, next tune in next week. Somebody will be here with us, and we'll be talking about the in the next episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Till next time,
mother.
Peace out.